It's not a gun problem that we have in America. It's a mental health problems that we're dealing with. Firearms have been a foundational part of American life since the nation's inception, yet violence hasn't always been at crisis levels. With everything that is now going on, it now points to other root causes, like deteriorating mental health among youth influenced by absentee parenting and social media, as well as inflammatory rhetoric from politicians that target conservatives.
I said if we were in high school, I'd take you behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Guns have been woven into the fabric of American society since the colonial era, with private firearm ownership dating back to the 17th century and enshrined in the Second Amendment in 1791 as a means for self-defense and security. Household gun ownership rates have remained relatively stable for decades, fluctuating between roughly 30% and 50% since the 1970s, while the total number of privately owned firearms has more than doubled from about 200 million in 1991 to over 393 million today. If guns themselves were the core problem, we'd expect consistent spikes in violence correlating directly with their widespread presence. But that's not the case. Instead, violent crime rates, including murder, have plummeted by more than half since their peak in 1991, even as gun ownership surged. This decline suggests that access to firearms isn't inherently driving criminal behavior. Other variables are at play. Looking at state-level data further undermines the gun problem. Research by economist John Lott in his analysis of shall issue concealed carry laws, where states make it easier for law-abiding citizens to carry firearms. This shows that such policies are associated with significant reductions in violent crime rates, including drops in murder by 8.5%, rape by 5%, and aggravated assault by 7%. States with more relaxed gun laws, like those allowing permitless carry or minimal restrictions on ownership, often exhibit lower overall violent crimes when controlling for factors like urban density, rather than just focusing on gun-specific deaths, which includes suicides and accidents. For instance, while critics point to correlations between weak laws and higher gun deaths, broader violent crime trends reveal that armed citizens deter criminals, aligning with the principle that an armed society is a polite society. This is evident in places like Vermont and New Hampshire, historically low crime states with minimal gun restrictions. In contrast, strict gun control in cities like Chicago and Baltimore hasn't curbed violence, suggesting laws that disarm the law-abiding and empower the lawless. The real epidemic fueling violence is a mental health crisis exacerbated by modern parenting trends where kids are increasingly raised by screens and algorithms rather than engaged families. Nearly half of U.S. teens report that social media has a mostly negative impact on their peers' mental health, with 41% of heavy users over 3 hours daily rating their own mental well-being as poor. Excessive social media use is linked to heightened risks of depression, anxiety, self-harm, and suicidal tendencies among the youth, with one study showing that teens spending more than 3 hours a day online face double the risk of mental health issues. This isn't just correlation. Platforms foster isolation, cyberbullying, and distorted realities, filling the void left by parents who outsource child rearing to devices. As a result, we're seeing spikes in youth violence and mass shootings perpetrated by individuals with untreated mental distress, not stable gun owners. Compounding this is the role of politicians, particularly on the left, in stoking division and inciting violence against conservatives through inflammatory rhetoric. Recent events like the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk have prompted accusations from Republicans that liberal figures' heated language creates a permissive environment for attacks. Historical examples include Representative Maxine Waters.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd,
which conservatives interpret as endorsing harassment and potential violence. Similarly, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's 2020 warning to Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh that they would pay the price and reap the whirlwind.
I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
Was seen as a veiled threat, especially after subsequent attempts on justices' lives. Such statements normalize aggression against ideological opponents, contributing to a toxic atmosphere where mentally vulnerable individuals act out. When combined with the mental health void from social media saturated upbringings, this rhetoric amplifies the risk of violence far more than the mere existence of firearms. In summary, America's violence isn't rooted in guns, which have been a constant for centuries without proportional chaos. It's a mental health breakdown driven by neglectful parenting via social media and divisive political incitement, targeting conservatives. Addressing those through better family support, platform regulations, and toned-down rhetoric. This would yield real safety gains rather than futile attempts to restrict a long-standing right.